Hello, and welcome to my Headhunt tier list video here. I kind of hesitated on making this video right away as soon as the Headhunt was announced, because I had a feeling Smallgate was going to release a unit that kind of shook things up a little bit. And well, they did with Chenille, whose design is intended to, just completely negate DDR's existence. Before, DDR was undisputedly top of SS tier, but with Chenille's existence, he got knocked down. And I'll get into more of that as we get in. I'm not even sure about DDR's placement in S tier. I know he's probably still up there, but regardless, yeah, I'm glad I was vindicated a little bit for my hesitation here. Now, it's very likely, because there's like a month and a half left, man, that things get shaken up again before the end of the Headhunt. So, don't take this as gospel or anything. It's very likely things will get changed before the end of the event. I'm pretty sure we'll see another balance patch before the Headhunt ends. Stuff like that, other units getting released that make units that are like Giga broken not broken because they are designed solely to counter them and only them. So yeah, do keep that in mind. But I mean, it's a pretty straightforward list, right? In terms of like, what the tiers are, right? Like SS, Giga broken stuff that you see in pretty much every game. S tier, very strong stuff still. Definitely worth having. You're gonna get value out of the units in this tier. A tier, still strong units, but maybe not as versatile as stuff a tier above. And then B tier is like B for bad, honestly. Okay, no, not actually, but could be better, I will say. And then C tier is honestly kind of like you're out of options and you want something new, but you maybe aren't going to be too happy with what you get. Or use it that much, I should say. You might be happy with what you get, but how strong they are in the current meta is a little bit questionable. Now, this is a tier list taking into account RTA and Guild War mostly, because those are the two game modes I spend the most time thinking about. I've kind of taken some AI Arena consideration into here as well, but look, man, I just do my quick battles every day. I don't actually play that game mode. Okay, let's be realistic here. Now, I've also, not a cleaver, but I've tried to kind of rate how strong I think the cleave units are and how necessary they are. But, at the end of the day, maybe don't necessarily take my word for it. But at the same time, you kind of need all of the cleave units to actually properly cleave, it feels like these days. So, yeah, I don't know, man. You can trust me on the bulkier stuff, though. I like bulky stuff. But regardless, let's go in. I'm gonna give like an explanation of why a unit is placed where it is, and that type of stuff. I might move stuff around as well, because I'm not really too confident in my placement necessarily. Like, although, like, okay, who really cares if like something is like up here versus over here? Like, some people get like really worked up over that stuff, when I feel like it doesn't actually matter that much at the end of the day. Regardless, the strongest, selection from the selector right now is either Lilibet or Phantom Politis, in my opinion. It's kind of a toss-up, but you might be a little bit confused, right? Because most people, when they were looking at the patch notes, right, when Lilibet got buffed, it was like, oh, yeah, that seems nice. She gets a little bit of she gets immunity on our S2, right? That's the thing most people were focused on. But, what kind of got, what we can't really tell from the patch notes and that type of stuff is how much damage increase she was actually getting from 50% pen, right? Because they say it decreases her damage, right? Which is an obvious thing they need to do when adding pen to a unit, right? Otherwise, they just do obscene damage. But they didn't actually decrease her base damage that much. If we look into the damage calc really quick here, I've got a sample build set up here. And this is 1.5k attack, 300 crit damage, 2k defense buff on plus 30 golden rose with her pre-balance stats. and we're hitting a 1.5k defense target here. So we're doing 6.4k damage to our S3 to everything on the enemy team. No mitigation or anything. Pretty respectable damage, nothing absurd. But then we go to the current designer Lilibet. We are now dealing almost 10,000 damage. So we gained 3.5k damage, which is like almost a 60% increase in damage compared to her old old S3, which is insane because she also gained the utility, and she's okay. The self CR push on her S3 is it's not that relevant, but she also gained Death Break on her S1. In addition to this, so she gets a 60% damage increase on her S3, and she gets Defense Break S1, Immunity S2. Like, this unit is insane. If your opponent picks a debuffer, you can slam Lilibet like 100% of the time. Okay, maybe not 100% of the time, but a lot of the time you can just slam Lilibet. She's in like 75% of my RTA matches, it feels like. And I don't have Phantom Politis pre-banned, so, you know, like people pick Lilibet into Phantom Politis, right? Like, it's insane. This unit is absurd. She does so much damage, and she provides so much utility to your team. And yeah, you really want this unit if you want to have a good time in RTA this season. Especially if you're leaving Carcetti open. You know, because like, you just need a good cleanser right now, right? Because Flan, Carcetti, I mean, Solitary is going to be picked at some point in time into you if you're playing that. So this unit's just the best for it. For sure. You will get value out of Designer Lilibet if you do select her from the Headhunt. I can guarantee that. On the other hand, she's not necessarily like playstyle defining, right? Like, this is the difference I'd distinguish between her and the Phantom Politis on like the list, right? Like, Phantom Politis is absolutely necessary if you want to have an aggressive playstyle, right? Like, whereas Designer Lilibet, she's very good for a reactive playstyle in RTA, but you know, she's not gonna like enable you to do stuff necessarily. Now, I have seen cleavers just pre-picking her, so you can't take Designer Lilibet into their cleave because she does do insane damage, like we saw. It is not a bad strat necessarily, but this unit is insane. Like I've said, like probably 5 times now, but yeah. Moving on to Phantom Politis, though, to like actually get into her, she's a very playstyle defining unit. If you want to play aggro, you do need the Phantom Politis in your roster because she just does too much. Now, you do need speed to play her, right? If that's also a consideration for you, you need speed to play her. Otherwise, you're probably not going to have necessarily that good of a time. Because generally, people that don't pre-ban Poly are going to just try to race you sometimes. But if they're not pre-banning Poly and they don't race you, I mean, you generally just win. Especially if you're first pick Poly. But like, between her push back, slow, team speed up, she just does a little bit too much. And then dual attack, you know, why not just give your team a damage steroid and then dual attack with the highest attack unit? I see no issues here. And then enable rage on your boy Tywin, who is also insane. Yeah, she does a little bit too much. But I don't know. Her kit's very straightforward, and she's very fun to play. So I can't blame you if you pick her over the designer a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like, it's still up to you who you're picking, right? Like, this is just giving you a guideline and an idea of what units do. Is the goal at the very least. Hopefully, I don't get sidetracked too often here. Anyways, onto the LRK here. Initially, I had him at like top of S tier, but honestly, I've been picking him close to every game, it feels like, because I'm leaving Carcetti open and trying to play Carcetti, so I end up fighting her, I end up picking her myself, and even in both scenarios, LRK is just really good to have on your team because he does a lot of damage, and he cooldown resets your team, and since Carcetti's AoEing every turn, you're getting a fat barrier every turn. Yeah, the 1-turn cooldown reduction is just kind of the thing that pushed him over the edge. I was picking LRK before he got buffed into the Carcetti, and he was very strong then, so getting cooldown reduction on top of that, well, gee, thanks. I appreciate that one, Smilegate. The immunity also prevents you from getting defense broken by the Lilibet, right? You know, or by the Tywin, or by, you know, plethora of stuff that has debuffs on it, type of deal. But you're just gonna be picking him a lot, right? Especially because the Flan's AoEing on our S1 Flan is one of the most meta-relevant units at the moment. Solitaria is getting picked all the time because Flan is one of the most meta-relevant units, right? And she counters Flan pretty directly. Yeah, it's I don't know, man. He's very, very strong, very powerful, and very worth having. I'm not sure if he's rated above the Tywin or not. For me personally, he is, because I just don't play Tywin as much. It's just a personal thing at the end of the day, but I do recognize that Tywin is a little bit busted in a lot of scenarios. But yeah, LRK is very good right now. Would recommend highly. Now, Tywin is a mitigation knight who has, you know, an automatic cleanse built in for your whole team when he's hit, in addition to having hard CC and a defense break AoE that can ignore ER if he is enraged, which can be granted by the Politis, or just when, you know, he cleanses a debuff, right? So he's very punishing to debuffers. But he is also kind of a casino unit at the end of the day, because it's an only 80% chance. So it's a bit tilting to use Tywin, not gonna lie, but he's definitely way too strong to like pass up if you don't have him. Yeah, and he's very good into units like Bryceria, where they have their defense break on the S3, and then, you know, he cleanses it, so then you're not defense broken on your team. So it's a very worthwhile consideration to have for sure. But yeah, you should probably get Tywin. Ruele? Dude, this unit's such a cockroach. Like, how do you kill this thing? She gives her, like, she gives damage limit to something, right? And then she can revive it. And then by the time she's probably revived something, she probably has her S2 off cooldown again. So then, how do you kill that thing again? And then, like, you just can't kill this thing. She just makes matches get dragged out by so much. It's so obnoxious. Bro, don't pick this. You don't become one of them. Although I'm kind of one of them. But yeah, you just build a Giga Tanky. You stick whatever sustain artifact you want on her, or cycling artifact. Like, I think Idol's Tear is very good on her. I'm personally running Candle because I'm toxic. If you put Candlestick on Ruele, by the way, you potentially get into scenarios where you literally can't kill her or the enemy team. It's very obnoxious because she's gonna have like 100% uptime on the damage limit, and then she's gonna like get revives up while she still has the damage limit. This is disgusting. But yeah, Ruele is very good right now. Yufine, okay, honestly, Yufine might be down here. I don't see her ever. She might even be down here, but she's, in terms of longevity, for how powerful a kit is, Yufine is very good in theory. In practice, the meta is very hostile for her. Like, it's just like, you can very easily just get killed by so many of the things that are strong that you often don't get to press S3. And also, Mort getting released was definitely a big hit to the Yufine because of how, like, she just likes counterattacking, you know? And if she can't counterattack, she has to take 5 turns, potentially, to actually press her S3. By the time an Yufine has taken 5 turns, the rest of your team is dead, man. Like, trust me. Yeah, it's not ideal right now. However, having the Fire Politis passive of having CR is very broken. It is very broken into a lot of cleaves as well. So in terms of anti-cleave, she's still like definitely one of the top tier units. But anti-cleave versus Flan, you're kind of dead, man. How are you dealing with Flan with Yufine? You just can't hit her. Unfortunate, I know. But Flan, you know, as of it turned out, the 100% evasion unit that does a bazillion damage is very good. Who'd have thought? But yeah, Yufine's still definitely worth having though if you don't have her. I'm personally probably going to be picking Yufine just because she's one of the strongest ML5s that I'm missing. But yeah, Bellion, honestly, okay, Bellion's probably not this high, honestly. I'm not too sure. Like, it's a bit ambiguous up here, but all of the units in this tier are definitely like S tier worthy. just for the record, it's just I think their placement might be a little bit questionable. But Bellion on 3F is very strong as the general idea, especially if you were pairing with the DDR. However, with Chenille, you know, Bellion DDR is definitely not that strong. Like, if you're playing DDR in standard, it's kind of doomed, because you're just gonna get Chenille picked into you, and your DDR is not gonna press buttons for the whole entirety of combat. As a result, you know, you're not really getting the synergy with the Bellion, right? Because that's one of the main reasons why Bellion was up here, just because 3F Bellion is so powerful. But LRK is also so powerful, and you know who AoEs multiple times every turn potentially? Bellion. And you know who loves that? LRK. Bellion's a little bit more questionable whether she's actually S tier, especially because one of the things pushing her over the edge was double AoE venoming the enemy team with the DDR. But you can't place Venoms now versus Chenille, so maybe we'll move him back here or something. I'm not sure. Solitaria honestly might be up here. And the sole reason Solitaria is up here is because we got SSS. SSS. Where's Flan? Boom. Yeah, no, this unit is disgusting. She's one of the... Okay, honestly, we can just do this real quick. You know, these are the meta definers at the moment. Like, they are they warp the game around them when they are picked. You're forced to respond to them in some way, or they completely shut off your picks in some way. I should honestly put this at the start of the video or something. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know if I can edit it in okay, man, who cares about the meta commentary? Anyways, yeah, these units are a little bit broken. And they're kind of like what's molding my decisions in the tier placements. Anyways, tangent aside, elite tier. Solitaria is just really good because it makes it so that the Flan can't dual attack. However, now you have Solitaria on your team, and you're weak to a lot of the things that Solitaria is weak to, like anti-debuffers, like the Lilibet, or the A Tywin. You know, you're guaranteed to give the A Tywin rage. That's great, man. Let's give A Tywin rage so you can death break our whole team. Or, you know, the LRK, right? Who kind of, you know, likes getting AoE'd every turn, that type of stuff. But Solitaria, if you don't have her and you're fighting Flan a lot, it's gonna feel awful, because you really do want that flex option to be able to, you know, deal with the Flan. Now this is kind of like the Cleave city section. Honestly, Blood Moon Haste is probably out. Okay, wait. Before I get to the Cleave city section, let's talk about Blood Moon Haste. Blood Moon Haste is very good still, don't get me wrong. However, he's kind of like hamstringed by the fact that Ilinov exists. If Ilinov is on the enemy team, you can't pick haste, he does no damage type of deal. LRK doesn't actually necessarily suffer from this as much as you'd think, just because he still has utility in the barriers and the cooldown reduction on his S3, so even though you don't do as much damage with your S3, you're still giving your team a lot of utility. Haste doesn't really have this as much. Like, I guess he heals with the strips, but yeah, no, that doesn't necessarily happen versus Ilinov, because you can't strip her buff, and if they don't have any other buffs, well, you're just kind of S1ing it into nothing. So, you know, half the time you can't really pick haste. But if you have Ilinov on your team, or if you're preventing Ilinov, haste is still kind of giga broken, man. Like, this unit's obnoxious because it makes you kill him first, but if you can't kill him first, or if you accidentally kill something on the enemy team first, well, they're getting brought back and something on your team is dying. This is a very strong kit. Now, this is the Cleave city. Okay, we are in the Cleave city. Or do I talk about DDR first? DDR, I'm genuinely not sure, man. With Chenille coming out, I think he might honestly be A tier if you're playing standard. If you're cleaving, you can probably work around it still. Like, I don't think people want Chenille on their team versus an anti-cleave, right? Like, it forces your opponent to pick a bad unit, potentially. But I could also be completely wrong, and Chenille completely destroys cleave. Hard to say at this point, right? We'll leave them in S tier for now, but I'm not completely certain on how good DDR will be after Chenille I mean, I am certain he'll be a lot worse, but I'm not certain how much worse he'll be, right? Briar is one of the best openers right now, because she got the speed EE that increases her defense break chance, right? So plus 10 speed, so she has a very high base speed now, despite having a very low base speed before. And then you run her on the Fenris artifact, which CR pushes your team when you AoE. Why did they add that to the game, man? It's so stupid. And it also gives a % attack to your team for some reason. Regardless, you run her on that as fast as you can go, and then you draft bridges and flan, because she has death break on S1 too. So if you S1 with Briar and you duel with flan, well, there you go. Congratulations, you've just deleted one enemy unit off their team. Very cool. Yeah, no, Briar is kind of broken. No, she is kind of reined in a little bit by Elena existing, because Elena, if you put her on Doctor's Bag, it cleanses both debuffs, which is very good. With her recent change. And yeah, Briar is very good if you do want to cleave though, and you don't have her. Would recommend. But you do need the Fenris artifact for her to really shine. However, because Ruel's really strong, maybe it's worth considering her as well, because Ruel can't revive if you have Briar on your team. And then like get into haste. However, weaken to the designer a little bit, just like the Solitaria and the DDR. Okay, honestly, DDR is probably A tier. Like between Schneel and designer a little bit existing, DDR is like not so great. Probably, I'll leave him up here still. Anyways, Zio. Zio's placement is more of for Guild War and AI Arena than RTA. I don't think Zio is... Okay, no, Zio is definitely still kind of broken in RTA, but he's not like giga broken in RTA, I feel. It's more of like people pick him when they don't want you to pick him, or they're slow, like me. So he's great for me. But in Guild War and RTA though, just guaranteeing to have a bridge for your Frida, for your Ludwig, for your Rekka Marijuana, that type of stuff. The fact that like he has things that he can bridge with and he's guaranteed to get first turn, just makes him really strong to have, and he definitely rounds out your account if you do have like the Frida. Like, having Frida, no Zia, a bit unfortunate, but if you have him and her and the Ludwig, you're gonna just be able to kill a lot of defenses, I feel. And well, okay, maybe not in my ranks, but in lower ranks, I imagine it's pretty strong. And versus Harsetti, being able to take the turn before she goes, it's good into a lot of her defenses, I feel. So I wasn't personally running those types of attacks. Doesn't mean it's bad. And then if you have Zia, well, you probably also want Ludwig, right? So it's just one of the bridges that you want for the Zia, along with the Rekramana, right? Like these are just some of the strongest pairings you can have with the Zia, which is why they're up here. But you know, this order kind of makes sense, hopefully. Like if you have Zia, then you should probably get Ludwig, and if you have the Ludwig and the Zia, then you should probably get the Rekramana to kind of like round it out, right? Now you might argue that Rekramana is more pickable in in some team comps outside of the Ludwig, you know, so maybe rating her over him is worthwhile, but you know, it's like they're around the same power level most of the time, so we'll just leave them like they're like overlapping, okay. I'm gonna like speed up a little bit here because I've talked for quite some time now, but these are like your premier picks. Okay, Bellion might not be a premier pick. DDR might also not be a premier pick. I'm sorry. I'm indecisive. We'll leave them here for now though. Anyways, SBA is another very strong Cleave bridge. I've been seeing her a lot lately, but you know who she wakes to? Designer Lilibet. Anyways, if your opponent's not really drafting a cleanse and they're got like not a very strong backbone to their team, SBA does a lot of damage, and you're not really resisting her with like conventional effect resistance units. Like obviously you can build like 400 ER on a Destina or something and then you're resisting, but that Destina is dying to like the rest of the Cleave team most likely. Regardless, the SBA is very good from what I've seen. I personally don't own her, so I'm kind of just basing this off of other people's games, but yeah, she's good. That's kind of all I gotta say. Hand Guy at the start of the season was very good, but his use kind of fell off when the Flan came out. Like a lot of units did, honestly. But he's still worth having, honestly. I think he's a very strong cleanser, especially in a Harseti meta. With Harseti out of the equation, though, Hand Guy is maybe not so great, but he's worth having. You know, that's kind of the mentality for the other stuff down here, though. Worth having, is good, but not the best. Charon, I like him. Okay, I might be, this is personal bias here, but I've been having a lot of fun picking Charon into cleavers. My build is like 28k HP, 1.7k defense, 100 ER on immunity though, which is a little bit unconventional, but he does 15k fixed damage on his S3 when he has full fighting spirit. So, you know, you're wiping a cleave team if you can survive, is the idea behind the build. He's also good into stuff like the SSV, I guess. I don't know, man. He's just fun to play and slam. Maybe he's not actually worth this high of a rating, but I think he's good. RB, okay, RB honestly should probably be up here, or even up here. But RB with his EE gained a bunch of damage, and he's just, you know, he's just a menace to society, honestly. Like, if you draft your team a little bit too squishy and they slam RB, you're in a little bit of trouble, because if you can't tank 2 RB S3s, you're just getting soloed by this man. So you kind of have to, he kind of adds a check to, like, if you're trying to play slow, you know, he keeps you honest, right? Because if you draft too squishy, you just got RB slammed into you and you die. So if you didn't pick RB from your, like, new player selector, and you somehow have everything else up here, you know, maybe consider getting RB. Conqueror Lilius, okay, honestly, Conk isn't that great right now. She's good, but she's not great right now. She's very hard to pick. She's not a premier opener for starters. She's weak to designer Lilibet. If they have Harseti open, you can't pick her either. And sometimes, you know, there's not even room for her in your team, right? Like, she's not necessarily adding the utility you want to the types of team comps you're running. Okay, this is getting like a little bit abstract, but like, she's just hard to pick, man. That's all there is to it. She's probably lower in here, honestly. But she's still good. Like, vigor buff to your whole team, stripping your whole enemy team, and attacking them down is very good. But it just leaves you open to a lot of stuff, like, I guess Green Celine, Bunny Dom, Designer Lilibet, Hand Guy to an extent, I guess. Okay, not really. I wouldn't consider her a weak to Hand Guy. She just has a lot of counterplay now at this point, even though she was so impressive in the past. So you won't feel bad if you don't get her, most likely. But, you know, she's worth considering. And especially, it is worth noting that they did buff a warrior artifact. I believe this is a Hawk's artifact, Pure White Trust, to generate 10 souls when you use a non-attack skill. So you can run this on her, and you can soul burn her S2 turn 1, which is potentially good into Laya. Just to plant the idea in your head that it does exist. Yeah. I don't know. Clock's okay, at the very least. SSV is a good anti-debuff unit. She might even be up here. Maybe not. I'm not sure. I don't really play her that often myself. But, she's countered by Solitaria pretty hard, which is getting picked quite often into Flan. So if you're picking Flan, you probably can't pick Vivian as well. Just because, you know, Solitaria exists. Very unfortunate, I know. But if your opponent is drafting fairly, like, debuff heavy, you can generally just slam the SSV and win the game off of that. But it's not guaranteed or anything. Like, she's still very weak to fixed damage, like the 3F Bellion. She's weak to like Fairy Tail Harseti, for example. Like, Harseti S1s her, removes 2 focus from her every time she takes a turn, and then the rest of your team can also hit into the SSV. Like, her focus just does not last very long at all versus Harseti. With Harseti though, if your opponent is picking debuffers, maybe worth picking, but I mean, a lot of stuff is pickable with Harseti. Okay. Judge Kisei. I'm putting her on here. I don't really see her picked that often, but I think she's like sleeper, like Giga Turbo broken. Like, she has Soulburn, Ignore ER, Full Strip, Death Break. Like, why? But she's weak to design a little bit. Okay, not actually though, because doesn't she get an extra... Wait, no, she doesn't even get an extra turn, does she? She gets 100 CR. So if you press S2 versus designer Lilibet, and Lilibet's faster, she can take the turn from you, so you don't get any debuffs, and then she just get S3 reset and die. And she's also weak to Elena as well for the same reason. So yeah, I mean, she's got counterplay, but I think she's worth considering just because, you know, Soulbird, Ignore, ER, Full Strip, Death Break is very good. Wait, was it Full Strip or Strip 2? I honestly don't remember. I think it's Full Strip. Anyways, Sense was up here because DDR, because he got the EE that makes him work off his sleeve, but I didn't readjust for Schneal existing. So maybe it says it's B tier, honestly, now. But he's fun. So maybe we leave him up here. Well, he's fun in theory. I don't own him personally. And I also am pre-banning DDR, right? So I don't see him ever. But from the people I see that pick says, he looks fun. Yeah. Okay, it's a similar scenario with Sharoon, actually. I put Sharoon up here because I thought Mort was going to be a lot stronger. But now DDR is kind of checked with the Schneal. So now, and Mort isn't really picked that often. So, wait, who really cares about Sharoon? Like, I guess she's good versus Solitaria in theory because you're getting stunned on average on one unit every turn. That sounds decent. And she's decent so a Tywin doesn't lock you down, but I mean, a Tywin's cleansing your Death Break on if you press S3 into him. And then you're left Death Broken, but not stunned, I guess. Yeah, it doesn't sound very good. Honestly, maybe Sharoon's B tier. Okay, I'll actually move that one down. But like, she is very good if Schneal didn't come out. Like, she was one of the few answers that could wake you up versus DDR. And she's still a very good aggro enabling unit. But she's not actually... Okay, it's not actually a good anti-sleep unit necessarily anymore. I guess it's nice to have, but... it's more of like an AO 100% chance AoE Death Break. Is her main role now. Not necessarily an anti-DDR unit. But yeah, I mean, she's still decent. But we're getting into the... It's decent, but wouldn't you rather have one of these other units territory with her? So yeah, I think she's worth moving down. Stage Balance is a good anti-cleave unit, but cleavers are picking Flan. And you know what Flan has? 100% evasion. That doesn't sound very good versus Sage Ball. Because you want to land your debuffs. Now, one of the things I've been doing with Sage Ball is I've been running him on Guide to a Decision, so that versus Briar Cleave, I still outpush them. That's just worthwhile tech, worth mentioning, I suppose. But a lot of people aren't drafting in a way to where they're weak to Sage Ball. But I guess if you have Giga ER Sage Ball and the Zeal Cleaving, still very good, still worth picking. But yeah, he's not necessarily as omnipotent of an anti-cleave unit as he was in the past. Okay, moving on to B tier. This is more of like Guild-War niche picks type stuff. Honestly, Dark Corvus probably isn't deserving of being this high up, but you know, he's still probably going to be good in the future in Guild-War, potentially, I guess. Commander Pavel, there was like there's like a decent amount of Zeo cleaves you can do. Like a Zeo Flan Commander Pavel is a pretty strong attack. If you have a 100% crit chance Zeo into some Harseti defenses, it's just a lot of damage for them to tank. So I think like for that type of stuff, Commander Pavel's worth picking. Ken is good for like auto AI arena type stuff like Christie, MA Ken. You'll win eventually into some stuff though. Every defense has Ruele now, and you know who Ken can never kill? Ruele. Ruele will probably just revive the whole enemy team before Ken can kill one thing, so maybe Ken's like even worse than B tier right now. He's definitely not that pickable in RTA though. Like I'll pick him like once every 100 or 200 games maybe, man. He's not that worth having right now. Shu... Okay, Shu might deserve to be higher on this, honestly. But she's still not very good, right? Like, I'll draft 5 HP scaling units with Harseti, and somebody will pick Shu into me. I just laugh. Like, she can't do anything. She takes way too long for her injury to ramp up, and she doesn't do enough damage for her injury to do anything substantial to a very bulky team. And then You add Harseti into the equation, so you're not like actually lapping things with your speed buff. You're getting 0 value out of the speed buff. She just doesn't feel like she's in a very good spot, honestly. To where she's very pickable. But yeah, I just run shoot over with my 40k HP units. It's very ironic. LHC. Okay, maybe LHC gets moved up too. I don't think the ordering really matters that much at this point in time though. She is good into Solitaria in theory, but she still doesn't really do that much damage, surprisingly. She's good into Harseti in theory, but in reality, Harseti procs your Lionheart and something else on their team is going before you. It might mess you up, honestly. I do think Lionheart's actually a lot more pickable than the other units in this tier, so maybe we move her up to A tier, honestly. I can see her being quite good right now, but honestly not that great at the same time, so maybe top of B tier type of deal. Navy Captain Knight, this one, okay, if you don't play E7 that much, this one's probably very shocking to you, but Candy is very bad right now. Flan has guaranteed crit for starters, so you're dying to Flan, and then everything else above her kind of just kills her. Like, unironically, fully charged K on S3, 1-taps Candy. RB, you miss crit twice on your S3, you're still 1-tapping a Candy. SBA, your burns are actually 1-tapping Candy. Hand guy? Okay, she's good into like these types of things, I guess. And Spez, but like, are these really units you really want to dedicate a unit to countering? Not really. Here, just solo carry potential is just so low compared to a lot of the other stuff that's stronger at the moment is the deal with her being solo. I do think she is very strong still though, potentially. Like in a vacuum, she's giga broken. But in reality, she sucks, unfortunately. Okay, she doesn't actually, or she does suck, man. I'm sorry. But yeah. Like, if you want to pick her, go for it. But don't be surprised if you have a very bad time playing her. Like, she's just bad into everything up here, honestly. Except, okay, I guess she's like actually kind of decent versus Lilibet. But Lilibet is dark, and Lilibet can probably 1-tap your Candy. Anyways, Tomoka, this is just a Cleave unit, man. If you got 310 Tomoka, go for it, man. If you want that type of speed, go for it. But if you don't have that type of speed, she's like just a very niche 4-5 pick, that where you want to like, you know, assert your aggro, with the Phantom Politis early pick type of deal. But otherwise, she's playstyle enabling. However, that type of speed here is honestly better on Briar, and you can probably reach a higher top speed on the Briar because you still want damage on Tomoka, right? Like, so you need 310 Tomoka with damage. Briar, you just need like 310 speed. All other stats. Obviously, it's, you know, getting 310 Briar is not easy. Getting 310 Tomoka is not easy. But this is just like whale territory stuff. I'm assuming most people looking at a Headhunt tier list don't have that type of gear, because the people that have that type of gear are giga whales that spend thousands of dollars on the game and have every ML5. Anyways, Rider, I don't know, he's just a meme evasion unit. He does decent damage. You put him on attack blitz, he's kind of playable versus Harseti, but not ideal. Flitica can reset Amaki. That's like the only reason she's up here. She's in a similar situation with Tomoka, but she's honestly less pickable than Tomoka. So maybe she's C tier even. But Tomoka can't reset Amaki, so I guess she's okay still. Apoc is up here just because she's good when paired with Harseti, because you can run a lot of HP on her and have her be very hard to kill by the enemy team. Outside of that though, she's not that good, but you know, she's still a bit of a cockroach unit. Not on the same tier as Ruele necessarily in terms of cockroachicity, but still hard to kill, still does decent damage. And I mean, if you're out of options, you know, it's not a bad choice. Alright, no, wait, here. This is the conspiracy might get buffed soon tier. So I think these units are very likely to get buffed in some way in the future. But right now, they're pretty ass. Is the way to describe it, I think. These units have not seen any substantial changes to their kit in a very long time, and at the moment their kits are very useless in the current meta. Strays might be in here too, but okay, probably not. And the reason they're placed so low is from, you know, being full pen units. Okay, I guess Leica's not a full pen unit, but being penetration units when Ilinov existing, with Ilinov existing, you know, which makes them quite useless, or being debuffers with Lilibet existing, or just having very outdated kits, like Closer, kind of. I guess you could still play Closer to an extent, so maybe we don't move Closer down there. I don't know, man. Like the Fallen Cecilia, just giga outdated kit, never been updated, never been touched up type of deal. Or Mario. I don't know, has Mario been touched? I'm not sure. They're just not pickable, man. They're very hard to pick. Obviously, Seal is strong in theory, but in practice, they have LRK, they have Tywin, they have Ruele. All of these units have cleanses in their kit. They have, you know, I don't know, man. They have Alencia on their team, and you get injured? Wait, what? No, Mario doesn't care about injury. Sorry, I'm kind of been talking for a while, so I might be a little bit loopy at this point. But the general idea is, you know, if you have all the stuff up here that you want, and you want to gamble on a patch in the future that has these units in them, it's very likely these units are getting touched up in some way soon. You know, don't take my word for it. Like, obviously this is speculatory, but it's definitely possible. It's very likely for the Fallen Cecilia and the Flan, I will say. These three, maybe to a lesser extent, but Flan is going to be the skin for the upcoming RTA season. So, you know, and they canceled her previous rework. So I think it's pretty likely she gets buffed, actually. And Fallen Cecilia, I mean, they did like the dragon, you know, Moonlight Theater stuff. Fallen Cecilia is in it. She might get an EE, she might get something that makes her good. Honestly, is Elena in this tier as well? Because Mort exists, and Mort kind of takes over Elena's role, honestly, even in Cleave, because Mort does more damage than Elena. Unironically. But yeah, you know, the stuff down here though, it's not really ordered. It's just like these units aren't very good. Like Strays, he's great for one-shotting hunts, but Ilinov exists. And teams honestly are too tanky at this point a lot of the time for Strays to even one-tap sometimes. With his S3, if you're not like a proper speed build. So yeah, not ideal. Same stuff with the if you want it for hot one shots, I guess it's good. But it's same with like the LQC, like with Ilinov existing, you don't kill something if you have Ilinov on the team. But if they don't, she's pickable into dark units. So, you know, still like a good unit. LCB is power crept by Flan, honestly, in terms of critting anti-crit units. Celine, more exists that makes Celine useless. And things are just like too tanky for her to kill. And versus Harsetti, she hits twice and is on Fairy Tail, so you're not actually necessarily living versus her. DJB isn't very good into a lot of the debuffers right now. Like, you'd rather have a Tywin on your team, or you'd rather have Designer a little bit. I guess sometimes versus Emma Poldy, the DJB is quite good if they're not picking books and whatnot. You know, probably picking books and whatnot, aren't they? And then Stenny is ass. She's countered by Schneal. Funnily enough, because she has poison on her S1, which procs the Schneal, and then your team dies. Damn, son. That's depressing. And then Maid Chloe is Maid Chloe. If you want ER for like an auto arena team, I guess she's pretty good for that. But is that really what you want to determine your Headhunt pick around? Probably not. And then Closer's like, he's an opener kit, but he does not have opener base speed. So you kind of need something to bridge with him. But the thing is, okay, there's probably like some Cleave stuff you can do with him, but it's more of like you're trying to be a master chef and not draft strong units when it comes to the Closer trials. Like, you can definitely win with him, but you can also win more with a lot of the other stuff, and more often with a lot of the other stuff on this list. Anyways, I've been yapping a long time here. Hopefully this has given you an idea of what to pick. I kind of feel like I got sidetracked quite a few times here, but hopefully I've gotten my point across on like, why I've placed things in certain places. It's definitely not set in stone, like I said at the beginning, though. For the placements of units, like things can get moved around, like DDR and Bellion are probably actually A tier type stuff, but hopefully this gives you a decent foundation to like, you know, have something to like strive for. But do, again, let me reiterate, do be on the lookout for units that are getting buffed, units that are getting released that might, you know, make units on this list completely irrelevant, like the DDR. Okay, DDR is not going to be completely irrelevant. He's more of a 4-5 pick now, right? But, you know, like, make their pick priority go down type of stuff. But yeah, I think that's it for me. Thank you for watching. If you want to see these unit, like how I have some of these units built, feel free to join my Discord server. I have all of my builds posted in there for the most part. It might be a little bit out of date because I kind of move gear around quite often, but you know, feel free to join up there. Subscribe if you enjoyed, all that good stuff. Leave a like, drop a comment if you have any questions, and yeah, on to something else here, maybe. No. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.